I don't know
So,
what to say at this
Stealth,
point.
look, here's what happened, Stealth. Look in chat right now, and I'm dropping what happened. All right, I'm dropping it right now. This is exactly what happened.
I'm going to the chat. Hang on.
This is what caused it.
This is how. The picture. Oh,
A
I was like, this
hadron
makes no
collider.
sense.
The hadron collider.
Okay, what? So why did you bring up
They-
CERN?
it's CERN, and they freaking they moved us from one freaking timeline to another.
And in this timeline, like,
So
Shazam never existed.
gamer, and everybody else who remembers this movie was in a different timeline.
We're from a different timeline. We're time travelers, bitch.
That's right. This and Harp, they're in cahoots, dude. The Hadron Collider group and CERN and Harp, they're freaking in cahoots, and they did this shit.
Then how are we interacting? If we're in different timelines, how are we interacting?
They dropped us in your fucking timeline.
Yeah, you garbage person. They stuck us with you.
Wait. So this device that they use to drop us, right, or drop you in my timeline exists both in my timeline and in your timeline? That's how this goes? How does that work?
Because the two timelines are very similar, but they're just some little bitty tweaks.
Oh my god. This is not, if this is, oh my god, the extreme rationalization. Oh my god. This is like cognitive dissonance, like on steroids. Like, there's such an investment in.
I think it's a very rational assessment of what went down. I think.
The only differences are minor differences. Things like certain movies that weren't actually made.
Life is like a box of chocolates. I don't give a fuck what your timeline says, Stealth.
Exactly. It is not like a box of chocolates. That doesn't even make sense. Doesn't even make sense. Y'all have stupid movies here. Life was like a
it sucks here, Stealth. It sucks.
Life is like a box of chocolates. Who the freak says life was like? You're still alive, you dumb bastard. Why the hell put that in the movie? That doesn't make it. That doesn't like be like, hold on. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
That's all it is. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I mean, honestly, Stealth, take your timeline and shove it.
All right, I think y'all need to spend a little time. I think y'all need to take a little time, just a couple of deep breaths.
I think I need a shot of tequila.
Allow yourselves to embrace the reality that what you believed in was a bunch of bunk, and so now you're stretching as far as possible to deny the fact that you let yourself believe in bunk.
Okay.
I know. I understand. It can be painful.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
I understand. I understand.
Small things make sense, right? Okay, Kit Kat. We thought it had a dash in it. It doesn't, right? Fruit Loops. Some people thought it was spelled Fruit instead of Froot, right? Okay, so that's a common mistake. How the hell do you come up with a whole hour and son long movie? How do millions of people come up with an hour and son long movie in their mind? Where? How people collectively, like, we just got a meeting together, millions of us, and we're like, you know what? I think we're gonna fake like we watched this movie. That's what we're gonna do.
Oh my gosh.
How does that sound plausible? I don't understand. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
All right. Gamer, question for you. You be as well. So are you familiar with the concept of mimetics? Right?
Do I sound like a genius to you? No. I'm
Say
sitting
the
here.
word again.
I'm
Say the
sitting here
word
arguing
again.
about a damn movie that didn't happen. So do I sound like a genius?
Say the word again, Self. I want to hear the word again.
Mimetics, right?
Mimetics?
Memetics, yes.
Mem.
Spelled exactly as it sounds.
We
Spelled
don't
exactly as
know.
it sounds.
We don't know
Mem.
terminology in your damn timeline. Okay, so no.
No shit. That explains it all. That explains why we can't understand what the fuck he's saying all the time, dude. He's
Exactly.
all his words are from another timeline.
We don't get him.
I'm
Debate.
I'm
And all.
trying to help you here as a possible explanation for how all of these how these popularly held false memories, right, might propagate, might exist, right, for millions and millions of people, right? So mimetics is this idea that just like in the natural world, right, where biological organisms can spread in an appropriate environment, right? So bacteria, like we'll give you like uh, in a warm, moist environment with just the right amount of light, like bacteria, they're going to go crazy, right? um, Provided you have, just a little bit of something for them to feed on, a natural earth, or some biological substances, yada yada. All right, leave it at that. So um, the idea is that that also can happen in the human psyche with ideas, so that ideas can sort of spread if the environment is conducive or favorable for the idea to spread. And so in this case here, right, you sort of in my mind, you sort of have that going on. You have a lot of people who had a lot of very similar cultural references with Sinbad, and movies with similar names, Shazam, you know Kazam, or like there's a lot of very very similar points of reference, right? And all it takes is just a few people, right, making a little bit of a mistake in saying, oh no, yeah, I saw that movie, it wasn't with Shaq, it was with Sinbad, right? Um, and because a lot of these people share a lot of the same basic information, right? Then the idea begins to spread through people's minds just the same way that biological organisms can spread through different environments if the environment is suitable for their growth. That is exactly what is going on with this sort of nonsense. There was enough material, like in terms of memories or cultural points of reference, enough people, right, were exposed to these very very similar ideas, that all it took was just a couple of people making a little bit of a mistake, right? And the idea took on a life of its own and began to spread just like any biological organism would spread,
So
in
I
So
have
the
a
here's
right
the
environment.
issue with that.
I have a problem with
Self.
that.
We as soon as I saw it, I didn't hear anybody tell me anything. Like I
Exactly.
didn't read comments, I didn't do shit. I just saw this Mandela effect saying this movie never existed, and I'm like, what the fuck? I watched this movie, and then I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking it up everywhere, and it doesn't exist. And I'm like, what the hell? And then as soon as I saw that, I fucking looked up CERN, right?
Wait. Are you serious? You jumped right from Shazam to CERN?
Dude, they're doing crazy shit over there, man. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
So I have two problems with it. The same as Brash. Like I never had a conversation with anybody about this movie, right? Like, I mean, I watched the movie, and I mean that was that. Like, it wasn't really anything crazy special, So I mean, we never really conversated with anybody about. Well, at least I never did, right? And I had already knew that some people were saying that this movie never existed, right? Before we talked about that, it was just like I'm still sold on the fact that I watched this movie, and like my thing is like for that to be the reality, there would have to be a misspread of information, right? And so when you don't have any information coming from other people, there is no way to have a misspread information.
So here's the beauty of it, and I'm going to use sort of a crass example, right? So, um, you don't have to have a direct conversation with someone in order for ideas to be spread, in order to sort of mimetic spread to occur. All you have to be is exposed to an environment in which that idea exists, right? So the same
So
way
you,
that, for
yeah,
example, you don't
but you
go ahead.
telling me I'm a mind reader.
What's that?
So you're telling me I'm a mind reader.
No, what I'm saying is this. You could be sitting in a coffee shop somewhere, and you're not even paying attention. You're reading your newspaper or whatever, right? And you hear people in the background having a conversation about a movie or about Sinbad, right? Or there's some comment on the television,
Sinbad's a
on the
genius.
radio, right?
Sinbad's a
There's
genius.
see
Sinbad's a
you
genius.
don't have to have you don't
Sinbad's
have to have a direct conversation with someone in order for an idea to be transmitted to you. You just have to be in an environment that's going to expose that idea to you, right? And you have the potential, your mind has the potential to pick up on that subconsciously. We do this all the time. This is part of how we survive living, right? This is part of how living our everyday lives is that passive awareness, right? Passive perception, where we're always scanning the environment, right? And it's left over from the days from when this was very important for us in order to survive in the jungles and the savannas of Africa, right? Various other places, around the world. But all you have to do is be present in an environment where that idea, right, is also present, and you can be exposed to the notion and pick up on it and not even be aware that you have in fact picked up on this idea. And so it's one of the
Okay.
crazinesses of
So
of the human psyche.
I would say this to that. All right. I only had a few people I even hung around with. This was not a topic of conversation. The topic of conversation was drugs, alcohol, sex. Right. Those were the topics of conversation. I don't really
All
hang out.
closely tied with Sinbad.
Yeah. I mean, these are all things. Right? We know this. The porn star Sinbad. We've all seen it, right? Anyway. So like the. I mean, I guess we could possibly use that as a thing, but it's not the probability though, right? That's the thing that always gets to me. Like the less people that you have around you, the less probable that is. And I've always had a very close knit group of people, right? I've always had a close knit group of people. Now, maybe we could say, oh, while you were in school, right? But dude, even then, I mean, I hung out with people and I was cool with people, but I had my certain select group of people. So like for somebody like me, that's like I'm an extroverted type of person, but I'm also introverted, so I keep away from people. Um, like I like my people, but I'm not too crazy about people. Period. Like the majority of people, I'm not just that crazy about them, so I stay away from them. So I mean, it's possible, sure. I mean, everything is possible, but the probability is always a problem.
I think my counter to that would be this: is it seems like you're still hung up on this notion that for an idea to be transmitted from one person to the next, there has to be um, a discrete, direct conversation about that very specific idea. And we know that's not the case, right? So think of how, for example, babies pick up on language or pick up on how to complete, really simple daily tasks. Or think about how babies, figure out how to like open drawers or turn doorknobs, like these sorts of things, right? Parents aren't going there in most cases showing them how to do this, right? It's just they're absorbing from their environment. They're in the environment in which these activities are taking place, right? And the mind is set up to absorb from the environment in which it exists. So even if you weren't like even if your circle of people was quite small, right? The circle of people that you would have perhaps maybe a detailed conversation with was quite small. You couldn't help but be an environment, right, in which all of this information would be there for you to absorb, and your mind would be picking up on it whether you wanted to or not, right? And if it weren't, right, then we'd be talking about an entirely different situation, because there are some folks whose minds are set up just differently, right, and they don't tend to pick up on those sorts of environmental cues. And I'm sure B has worked with plenty of these types of people, right? Um, and and so they have a different, they have a more challenging path through life, because they have to be intentional about observing their environment, to pick up on cues that are necessary to move through day to day life, because their mind is set up a little bit differently, their psyche is set up a little bit differently, and they don't have that. They don't have their mind working sort of on automatic, picking up on all these little subtle cues, whether they're social cues, emotional cues, sensational cues, right? Um, all of these cues aren't being picked up on automatically. So you're clearly not one of those people, right? Um, so that tells
No, am
me
I?
that even if you describe yourself as an introvert, right, you're you are one of these people whose mind is still picking up on stuff, right, absorbing information from your environment on the automatic, right? And so again, this is only one theory for how like false memories can sort of take root and spread. um, and it does require, again, a fair number of, like, there to be points of reference for people to share. Like, a lot of people know about Sinbad. I know a lot of people know about these sorts of goofy movies that were, um, the sort of cheese was in a can style movies that were popular during this time period. You know, uh, those sorts of things. The whole, life is like a box of chocolates. How many times did kids say that to each other, right? In school, right? So even if that wasn't something that you said, right? Even if it wasn't something that you said to your circle of friends or had a direct conversation about, it's almost impossible, because that movie, because Forrest Gump has was such had such cultural impact, right? Became such a cultural icon, right? It would have been almost impossible for you to be in any sort of a public setting, especially a school setting, right? And to have not encountered others in your environment who were using those phrases, right? And so what happens? Your mind is on automatic, you're picking these things up. And so even
So
if you didn't have a direct conversation with someone about it, right? You're familiar with the phrase, and you're familiar with the version of the phrase, right? That you heard, and so you adopt it as your own.
So
And
Okay.
on
that
the
But,
back of the
but
VHS, on the back of the VHS, if you go to the VHS of that movie, right, Forrest Gump, it says "Life is like a box of chocolates" on
You're
the
right. You're
freaking
right.
sleeve.
Which is hilarious. Which is hilarious, because, like, why would you have the line different in the movie, and then, right? That has always perplexed me. Like, why?
Oh, well, I
This
know
is so.
why.
so
Because the case was manufactured in our timeline, and the movie was done in your timeline.
exactly. But see, this
So
is
so
this is
so
the thing.
stealth.
Why
So
would
stealth.
that
When
What
you're
be?
about
when you're
what
talking
about how
about
movies like sometimes have like alternate endings, right? Because like a few of my favorite movies, like they kind of got like a PG version that they play on TV. But when I watch at home
Right.
with my DVD player back in the day, it was an entirely different ending. So you know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
They're not going to change a word "was" to "is."
what this
I mean,
um
this is the
it's
thing.
it's
uh,
that's
Because
that is it's by design. I mean, it's intentional. I mean, that is part of that's part of the intrigue, right, of especially visual media, right, is that you can sort of, if you go far enough back, when it wasn't movies, but it was books, right? Choose your adventure books, right? Hey, if you want to go through the left door, go to page 52. If you want to
right.
go through the trap door, go to page 76, right? So these alternate ending, sorts of um, um, these different mediums that offer alternate endings, is like, it's super common, because there's this. I mean, humans love intrigue and the possibility for something unexpected and strange to occur. And so, like, there are so many movies that have adopted that as sort of one approach to giving to sort of putting like a cherry on top in terms of what they're offering to their viewing audience with their particular film content. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Clue. Does that ring a bell to anyone? Anyone?
It was a board game.
Exactly right. And so basically they took the board game and turned it into a movie, and you can select, just like in the board game there are a bunch of different ways that it can turn out depending on the shuffle of the cards and so forth, who it was who committed the murder. In that movie you can select an alternate ending if you want to, and lots of movies have done this, but it's just a way to add a little bit of extra interest. But all it means is just you basically had the cast shoot a variety of different scenes, right, that were then appended right to the end of this film to give the viewing audience just that last little bit of, oh, that was sort of fun, that was sort of fun, that was sort of fun, and go from there.
So you're deflecting.
So,
You have not convinced me of anything, Stealth. I mean, I know that
so
you're
Deflecting?
no,
How am I
no.
deflecting?
Let's
You
get back
just
on.
you just said that a video was made in one timeline, but the case for it was made in another.
Sure,
so
Do you hear
this is-
yourself?
these are
sure.
the only two explanations, all right, for Forrest Gump. Either one, we're from a different timeline, right? Or two, Tom Hanks is a freaking idiot, and so is the director because he screwed up the line and he just didn't do it over.
And everybody heard the line as is in the fucking world. Like everybody, you can't find one person. It'd be hard to find a person that didn't repeat that line and say is.
Well, why aren't you? Why are these ones in particular disturbing to you, but not like the I mean the classic, Luke, I am your father. That situation. Everybody talks about that, right?
Oh,
But
that
that's
was
not the line,
disturbing too. That was disturbing
you know.
too.
Yeah, but
But our conversation was
you know
about
the other thing for me on those though is the examples that you use are not it's not equal, right? Because what you're talking about is like the Forrest Gump and and Darth Vader and all these things are like iconic, right? This movie that Sinbad was in was not really iconic. It just really wasn't that great.
Well, apparently it was for some people.
I mean, it wasn't really like that great because it wasn't something that people
Your
just like
bio literally says Sinbad made that damn movie.
because
Clearly,
he
this was
that damn,
iconic for you.
he made that damn movie, right? That's just to let everybody know so that we don't get food by the meat, okay?
the
But
mind
but
control stealth. Stealth, here's the problem. You're a plant. And we knew you were a plant a long time ago, right?
we knew you with
You're
no
a
bacon.
freaking plant. And you're the one you've been put in here because we're on your watch list. I know. I
Yeah,
know what's going on here.
yeah.
Wait,
You
Red
wait.
already,
What am I?
Tom,
What am I supposed to
Tom,
be watching
Tom
for?
is on your whiteboard. I'm
Oh,
on your
oh,
whiteboard. Gamer's
oh.
on your whiteboard. You know, you,
There was
you
a whole
are
documentary.
freaking
Wait,
They're
mole,
wait.
dude.
introducing. They're introducing dangerous ideas. They're
Yeah.
onto us. A
No,
video
If
that
you want
was
to get
filmed
into
in
this
one
thing,
what's
as
going
a
on?
case that was printed in another. These are dangerous ideas.
This is
But let
what's
me
going on.
report into
Okay,
Central Command.
you're our FBI agent, right? That's what's going on. You're the government agent, and see, this
I
is how they
mean,
got us. Like you're talking about this, you're telling us how you guys got us with the mimetics. All right, what you guys did was you planted different things into our mind. Like a lot of us probably watched Price is Right, Cliffhanger, right? The
yeah, oh
the
yeah.
the
I love
cliffhanger,
cliffhanger.
right?
I
So
love
so
it. Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure there's other things that I just can't remember because they were in the background. and so we all came to Cliff so you could watch us all at one time and listen to what we're saying. That's
Because
going on.
you're a reptile. You're a reptile.
You're a
Because
reptile.
I think you mean
Because you're
reptilian.
reptilian. You're
Whatever.
reptilian, you know, because nobody has your vocabulary and nobody knows everything about everything.
You're too
So
smart.
you're too smart, dude. We caught on. We caught on.
He's got that what's that drug from the movie, the
Limitless.
NZ-17 or whatever the freak it is.
Yeah, then he want to keep talking about does that track. No, it don't track. We don't understand what you talking about.
Nah. See, he's trying to lead us. He's trying to force us to go. Does that track? Like, what are you trying to say? Because we going across train tracks and all of that. See, it's the stuff in the background, the subconscious. They got us. They're trying to get us. That's what it is.
Oh
Dude.
my god.
Stealth
And
is a bot, bro.
Stealth,
Oh.
the other reason I have a problem with it, you guys, he was hoping we weren't going to figure this out. If you spell mimetics, it's MEMETICS. It starts with meme. He's trolling us, guys. It starts with
Oh
You're
my
not gonna,
god.
you can't get us, Stealth. You can't
it's
get us.
called mimetics.
We're too strong for you guys. We're too strong.
We're smarter
Oh
than
my god.
we will get you, Stealth. We're smarter than you. They're
Yeah.
gonna assign
You've
Stealth is
outed me.
in here in a little bit.
I
They're
have
gonna assign you
my pupils split vertically. They're not round. They split vertically, right?
I believe
Yeah.
you. I believe
Yep.
you.
And I have like this nictitating membrane that flips from side to side.
And it
Wedding-
I mean,
explains why you have baby.
think of the contradiction here, Stealth. You have ripped abs and you look like a beach dude and you fucking read encyclopedias, dude. That shit don't track.
Don't track.
It don't track at all.
It don't
And
track.
dude,
at all.
why was your voice messing up the past few days, man? Your
Yeah,
your vocal
yeah,
speech
you called
receptors been
home.
damaged. Was your
ET
vocal
phone home. That's what happened. His
Because-
phone-
his vocal speech receptor was damaged.
because my dyno modulator was on the fritz. I was waiting for another battery to show up.
See, he's saying it as a joke, but it's true, guys. It's true.
Yeah.
He's hoping that if he
dude.
says it in something funny, if he says it in a joking manner, we won't take it serious. Take everything he says seriously.
Oh my god. Reptilian.
You reptilian mastermind. You.
Out of control nonsense.
See, I don't
My
even think I could
favorite
put,
of all
you
of
don't even have,
this.
see,
Favorite of
your
all of
damn
it.
avatar, you don't even have a fucking, you can't even see your eyes, right? You can't even see your eyes.
That's what he look. Yeah, that's what he looks like for real. That's what he looks like right there. When he goes to call home, when he phones home like ET, his face lights up just like that. 100%, just like.
Oh my gosh. My gosh. I can't. My favorite is still though the movie that was filmed in one timeline, but the case for the VHS was printed in another, and somehow they were brought together. That is my favorite. That's my absolute favorite.
That's what happens, man. When you come
Yeah,
from one time, things get kind of mashed together.
Yep.